Naturally, I had no complaint. I followed instruction. And I was put at the night shift. As I took on the job, the foreman told me, under no circumstances should I allow to take any call from the place, no matter what. Under those orders, I kept on working at night for about a whole week's time with no problem at all. The following week, on 10 or 12 o'clock at night, I heard somebody shouting coal. It was a big area I watched over, but I could hear this coal shouting. Naturally, I went over. I saw two German soldiers with sacks, they fill up those sacks with coal. I went over, so what's loose? Meaning, what are you doing? They stopped, they yelled at me, none of my business, and I say, you cannot take that coal. It's forbidden. You're not allowed to. So when one went over to me, started to show me on. Naturally, I was afraid of him. And we started a fight. I jumped on top of him, and the other German jumped on top of me, and the fight went on for quite a long time. The wind-up was, I sent one of the soldiers to the hospital, and the other one ran away. The reason he ran away is both of those soldiers were on leave in the Russian front, and they knew they would be caught or be sent right back. And this is exactly what happened. The man who I sent to the hospital wasn't too serious, stayed a few days there, and the other one was caught, and they were sent back to the Russian front. I wound up with a bloody nose. Not only a bloody nose, but puffy too. Following morning, naturally, I went home. I think it was a weekend. It was one of our boys who I stayed with from the village started making fun of me. And I was irritated, and I just connected one shot into the jaw. Naturally, some other boys ran over and took us apart. And this was my 24-hour fight for that day. After working there for about 4 weeks, I was transferred again into a new place. A place where the filled with bombs, with explosives. It was an extremely easy job. That's all one had to do was sit on a chair, be a big kettle, just open the tap, and another person would come over with a little trunk and the open bombs. And I just had to fill them up, and he took them away. It was an extremely easy job. But upon looking around at those people in that room, it frightened me terribly. I could see yellow eyes, blue lips, bright pale faces. Imagine the poison. You couldn't even feel it, you couldn't smell it. Imagine how bad that poison was that we were allowed to have 2 quarts of milk a day, which no German family had that privilege, except children were allowed milk. We were allowed to drink 2 quarts of milk a day. But I was only 6.5 years old. And I said to myself, "Boy chick, that's not for you." And I went over and I told the foreman that I'm not going to work at this job. During the war, especially in Germany, they called us refused to work, punishable by prison. But I didn't care. I said, I'm not working at this work. He went over to the phone and called the security guard to come over and fetch me. As I looked out through the window, I saw a policeman approach the building. I sneaked out behind through another door. And the factory naturally is a huge, huge area. We had our own hospital. So I decided that I was afraid to go home and be arrested. So I went to the hospital, told them I don't feel good. And they admitted me immediately, and I stayed there for 2 weeks. The police were looking for me, but I had a kidney bed and AIDS in the meantime. But after 2 weeks, I decided it's no good. There's got to be an end to it. I called up the security and I told them where I was. I told them I'm going home to pick my things up. Now I brought to the station. The security man told me that I don't have to do this. I could go home to the village. And I brought there to the Burgermeister. He's the one man in charge of the little village. He was the policeman and he was the city mayor. A nice gentleman. And this is exactly what I did. I checked out in the hospital. I took the train and went home. Only 20 minutes for train from the factory to this place. And I reported to the policeman. Naturally, there was no jail. Small little hole. Instead of jail, they had a little cabin. It was 2 bunk beds with 1 window. And he took me over there. He opened the door, saw another man sitting there. A Polish, much older than I was, around 30 years old. I asked him the reason he was there. Was probably the same thing, just a minor thing I refused to do to. He was in the same building where I lived. He was in another building. That's why I didn't know. They locked us in through the night. 6 o'clock in the morning, policemen came, opened the door, and they allowed us to go out into the village, to buy food, to visit friends, and they ordered us to be back at 6 o'clock every evening. And we did that exactly. We stood there about 10 days in that whole village, and he got an order for us to be shipped to Frankfurt am Main into another jail. He came over and told us we should pack our belongings. And we were allowed to go home. We traveled to Frankfurt am Main and we were brought to the city jail over there. Our belongings, my belongings, consist of a little blanket instead of suitcase, 2 pair of underwear, a couple pair of socks, toothbrush, and a razor, piece of soap. And before I went, I managed to pick up a at the local park. I went down to the field there, and the thing was just as nice as over here. We were allowed to walk on the roadway in the hallway. At night we were walking that night. Because our kind wasn't a major league. We just went to work. Prototype. After being there, we were supposed to wait for a car there. We never saw George or anything. The order came, we go. The prisoner of war camp for 4 weeks, for hard labor. So after 4 weeks, after a couple of weeks being in jail, they took us over to the railroad station, where there were a lot of more people waiting for the same to go to the prisoner of war camp. And I saw an awful lot of hungry faces there. An awful young people, not Jewish people. I don't know who they were. Extremely hungry. I gave him my word of honor. I opened my little blanket, pulled off a little bar, and I gave it to those people. I wanted to kiss me for it. So we were shipped out to prisoner of war camp. I don't even know where it was. It's a place right under the mine somewhere, east or west, I don't know. And it was a horrible place. All the prisoner force there were all Russians, filthy pigs. The place was filthy and they were filthy. Pigs. The place was filthy and they were filthy. If it was raining, we were sitting inside and weaving baskets, bushels. But when the days were nice, we were sent out to do little odd jobs on the highway, byways. Only the civilians were allowed to do this. Me and that Polish fella I was with in the little town, we went out, and 2 other fellas, and we had 2 watchmen over us. They took us out about 20 miles away from camp. There was a little cabin. We had our tools there, and we went out doing that. Just little odd little jobs, fix little things. I remember one day we were walking up beside a farm. The Polish fella, one I was with, went into the cabin, into the washroom. Coming out, he couldn't find his pitchfork. Looked on and saw a German farmer walk with it on his wheel. So he went over to try to take it away. Just because he didn't report to the watchman, the soldiers, but the watching us. They took me into the cabin when we went home to work. Took me into the office. And they gave me 25 straps on the rear end. And that poor fellow each time was connected, he yelled out, Jesus, Jesus. After 25 strokes, the torment over by we were. tears would fall down his cheeks. He couldn't sit down for hours. Poor fella. After being there for 4 weeks, we were sent to different jobs. I alone was sent to a place where they fixed railroads. I still don't remember where it was. It was a beautiful little village, I would say, but 100 families lived there, mostly farmers. And outside that village was a railroad run wise, and we were 15 men looking at the job. There's always something to do on the railroad. Those 40 men beside me were Macedonians, Greek, Yugoslavian, Czechoslovakian, all husky fellows, and I wasn't ashamed of them. I could match them either way. We had, on that job, we had one foreman, a German. I think he was retired, a wounded soldier which he couldn't serve the army, so they put him as a foreman. Apparently he lived in the same village too. I was lodged with another Polish fella in the farmhouse, a family which their sons were in the front line. Naturally, we paid him for their own. Extremely nice people. And we start working. Our work consists of, on a railroad, there's some wooden blocks under the railroad, about 3 feet apart. And under those wooden blocks, we have to fill it in with gravel, stones. When the train goes over it, should stay solid. Each time a train passed by, those gravel oozes moved up. And our job was to go 5 miles this way, one way, 5 miles the other way, until to fix those gravel, bang them in again. In the afternoon, we changed the railroad track going out, wooden plank was going out, they had to change. I remember one day we were changing a double steel plank which drew a railroad connect. They called it the double, and it was a steel one. 2 men had to carry it. I was on one end, another fellow was the other end. As we reached the railroad, the fellow in front of me tripped over a stone, and that plank fell down and jumped back on my right footstep and was completely flattened. I couldn't get up no more. They picked me up and they carried me out to the farmhouse, a couple of miles. They put me into a wheelbarrow and the 2 fellows pushed me over. I came down there. Don't remember whether there was a doctor or not, but the woman I lived in that house, came in, farmer's wife, and she said, I have a remedy for you. I said, don't mind what you do, as long as it will help you. She went out in the fridge, I think it was, and cut off a piece of pork, only the fat meat, and put a slice under my foot, and one big slice on top, a benched around. And the following mornings, when I got up, I could stand on my foot. I was really surprised how limited medication helps. And we worked there. I was almost 17 years old then. I remember we lived in one room that the Polish fellow and I, one evening we played cards, and he was not money, he just played cards. And he cheated me, so I got mad and I threw out the card. And as the Polish blood in him, he grabbed a knife and wanted to stab me with it. Of course, I was never afraid of those things. I looked him straight in the eye and he told me the knife. And just because he was a mean son of a bitch, I fixed it. He didn't know about the time on the clock. He couldn't tell the time. We had an alarm clock, and it was already late cold already. I put the clock back till 2 o'clock in the morning. We were supposed to get up at 6. I put it back at 2 o'clock, to ring at 2 o'clock in the morning. We went to sleep. The clock rang. He jumped out of bed to go to work. He said, "Moshka, don't you go to work?" Moshka means, "Hey, Jew." In a friend of his. "Hey, Jewish boy, don't you go to work?" I said, "No, I'm tired today, I'm not going, I don't feel good." And that's his son of a gun. He went out and he stood for 4 hours until the camp opened. This was his lesson, picking up a knife to me. It was a little mean, but I had to teach him a lesson. But he came over, we were friends anyways. It was a dirty joke. So we went out to work during the winter time. The winter wasn't too heavy in that part of the German. I don't know why. It was close to Bavaria, Bayern. And naturally we had to work all winter long there. I remember the trains, the freight trains, passed by in a slow pace. And they carried cabbages and they opened the baggage, half-open baggage. We had a kitchen on the spot where the cook, and he cooked for us the meal during the day. So we sold those cabbages from the train. I went to the village and I bought potatoes, and we really ate good. Because that year's time of that railroad. Come spring, I was chosen to go to another village we lived in, but another village but 5 miles away. It was a more commercial village. It had stores and had a bake shop. Just because I spoke German, they chose me to go down there. I took the wheelbarrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went down there, picked up some sugar. I went to the bake shop. Got acquainted an elderly woman. Husband was in the army there. We started talking over Poland. So I managed I bought a couple of big local bars from her. And I made that trip a couple times a week. I bought them beans and sugar, flour, and bread. But I was happy, never happy. One day, foreman ordered me to do something. I didn't like what the Tony said. I refused. So he called me dirty Jew. Without hesitating, I just connected his jaw, and it was on a spot. It was about 5 to 10 feet high from the ground level, the railroad. And he just rolled over there. He picked up cane, he got with a cane. He rushed back and tried to, wanted to hit me, but he changed his mind because he knew I was alive. And this went on until the war ended, 1918. My memory goes back a while. When I worked in the ammunition factory, I also had different little jobs. Again, just because I spoke German, I was put in charge and overseer in a place where old metal was assembled. And our job was to sort it out, break it up into small pieces. I say our job. I had under me 30 prisoners of war, French soldiers and Italian soldiers. I wore an armband saying I was in charge. The work was not hard. We managed it nicely. The French soldiers dressed very neatly and clean. Their sick parcels from home twice monthly, and they shared it with the other prisoners of war. The Italian prisoners, they dressed shabbily. They never see any parcel or anything from home. New prisoners came in old ones were shipped out. I remember one day in late fall, a group of Italian prisoners arrived, and it was a sore sight. They looked sick and hungry. The clothes torn, some had no shoes. They had rags around their feet. One of the men, I noticed, he was an elderly person, about 40 years old, and he really sick and tired. I ran into my locker, took out a loaf of bread, and hid it under my coat. Then came out, gave a wink to that elderly person. He followed me into the washroom, and I gave him the bread. His eyes filled with tears. He bent over and wanted to kiss me. Following day, he was assigned to work with me. And he tried so hard to tell me something. Unfortunately, I could not speak Italian. I could not understand. And a week or 10 days or so, this job ended with me. And now I remember a few more nice things from the village where I worked in the railroad. It was a beautiful summer day on a Saturday. The farmers and wives and their young daughters drove out to the field, and I too hopped on into the wagon, went with those people out to the field. I helped them whatever I could, whatever they told me to do. lot of fun with the young Fräulein. The village stood beside a huge hill. It was a picnic ground. We who worked at the railroad, we were the only young men in the village. And of course, enjoyed the young ladies at the top of the hill. We had a wonderful time. Also in that village was a dozen or so of Jewish families. They knew I was Jewish, but somehow never talked to me, and I never cared. And of course, at this time, the war ended. It was November the 11th, 1980. As the war ended, a helpless name went on my mind. It was a chaos. Anywhere in the street, with nobody to take any money. In Frankfurt was a big demonstration. Slogans were broken. Soldiers broke the rifles. Nobody knew what happened. I think it was lonesome war. I did not go back to the village. Instead, I rode the road east. 2 days, 2 nights. The day was full of Polish people. At the border, we were stuck. At that time, Poland established itself because Poland were under the Russian regime for 200 years and 4 years under the German. At the border, forts. I'll try to go back to the year 1907. At that time when my family could not make a living in that little town we lived in. So father decided to move to a big city, namely Lodz. And we packed up all our belongings and we moved down to the city. When we arrived in Lodz, an uncle of mine had already rented a place for us to move in. And you should have seen that place. It was really a hole in the ground. It was a basement, consists of one room, the walls, nothing else but cement, the water running down. The floor was plain dirt. The whole family somehow moved into that room, and each time it rained, our basement was full of water. Mother and the children, the bigger ones, had a job to siphon out the water from the floor. I remember my father went out into the street, tried to talk to people, tried to find out how to make a living for us. Somehow, someone talked him in to learn a new trade, namely making candies. And for that privilege he had to pay $25, which it turned out to be a failure in the long run. After a year or so, Finally, we moved out of that hole into one room on the first floor, somewhere outside the city. And the problem was still there, how to make a living. I remember Father talked things over with Mom, and they approached a neighbor at the new district. You should lend him some money. The kind woman agreed to lend him $5 every Monday morning with the understanding he should pay it back at Friday. And this went on for a long time. Somehow he got a hold of a roll-up sack, went out into the street, into the apartments, tried to buy old clothes in order to resell it and make a few pennies out of that. After a while, my two older sisters, my older brother, went out to look for jobs. Somehow they found something to make a living. And I turned 9 years at that time, I too got a job. I worked from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the evening, daily, for 6 days a week. And my pay consists of 50 cents. Believe it, 50 cents a week. And this went on for quite a long time. Somehow we started eating a little better in the house. For the 3-year-old boy in the house, but we did. When I turned to be 11, my father decided I should go and learn a trade. He took me to a tailor. Somehow my father found a place for me in a tailor shop. He hired me out as an apprentice for 1.5 years. My first year being there, my job consists of clean the house, sweep the floors, taking out in the morning the teapots. I had to undress the children, put them to sleep. I had to take them out to the outhouse and wait for them till they were finished. And we had one big room too, a family of 6 plus me. We ate in that room, we worked in that room, we slept in that room, and we peed in that room. This went on for 1 full year. I did not learn a thing. On top of looking after the household, my job was to look after the press iron. In those days, the press iron consists of heating by charcoal. Can you imagine the smell until the charcoal was ignited? It was on and on. I blew my head up for an hour and a half until I got it going. After a year passed by, somehow I didn't learn a thing. Then I started to think with my father. He had put me into another job. And Father, of course, being an honorable man, didn't think of it because he gave his word. So I'll be there for a year and a half. After finishing after finishing my term, I found another job, which it wasn't a hell of a lot better. The family consists of the master and one grown-up daughter, no wife. Same thing, we all lived in one room. I slept in a bed with a million bed bugs in it. It was a horrible sight when I got up in the morning. And this went on for a few months. Somehow I visited my family once a week on Saturday. One Saturday morning, going out to visit the family, I found out that they moved away from the place, and I really did not know where they moved. I just stood there and cried my heart out. Until after an hour or so, a neighbor passed by and saw me crying. So I told me where the family moved. A lot of things happened in that year. The ship Titanic sank. It's hundreds and hundreds of people drowned. Also, the Russian government celebrated the 300th Jubilee of the Romanovs, the Russian Tsar's name. Naturally, we lived under Russia, so we celebrate that big feast too. People are dancing in the market. As a child, naturally, I went out too. Just because I wore a Jewish cap, a little lousy fellow came over to me, took my hat, threw it in the air, and I could never find it. I was so mad, I rushed over to him, slapped his face, and I told him in Polish, "Ty skurwysyn, jak ja ciebie złapię na drugi święty, ja cię zabiję." Translation, "You miserable bastard, if I'll catch you at the next holiday, I'm going to kill you." This would probably be year 2012, I hope. After working there for 6 months, my father saw that this place was also not good for me. So he found another place in the heart of the city, better district, better tailor, 6 tailors worked in the place. I was the only helper there. The people were extremely nice to me. They taught me how to sew. They didn't take advantage of me. And I really liked to work with the people, and I liked to learn the thing. Within a short period of time, they gave me a chance. I made my vest by myself, made a pair of pants by myself, and I did a lot of sewing on the top garment. And this went on for a year's time. I was very happy there. I ate there, but I had to go home to sleep. Of course, during all those years, nobody ever paid me a cent. As an apprentice of those days, I had to go for nothing. But this particular last place, I was proud to be part of them. And all of a sudden, it happened. August 1914, the war broke out. It happened like the whole world would come to an end. The following day after the declaration of the war, All the store, the shelves in the stores, all the stands in the street was empty. You couldn't find a piece of bread. You couldn't see a potato on the shelf. Everything was hidden. And the poor people hit the hardest. The little money they had, they couldn't buy a thing. Everything, all of a sudden, was a black market, racketeering. We had to start to look for something to eat. Immediately, lines were formed to wait for a main outlet to feed the poor. The lines formed at 6 o'clock in the evening, and as I particularly was chosen to stay in line, I stayed all night. 8 o'clock in the morning, the warehouse opened. When I reached the gate, everything was sold out. I had to go home without potatoes. It was really horrible. And the shooting started in the city. Bombs were flying overhead. You could see dead bodies in the street. But me as a youngster, somehow I was never afraid. I was always asleep. I watched the bombs flying overhead. A few months passed by, and it was horrible. Believe me, it was horrible. I remember my mother got a hold somewhere, little rice and a few potatoes, and this was our main dish. And at that, it wasn't enough for all of us. I remember one Friday evening, the city was bombarded on both ends, the Russian and the German. And my older sister lived in the center of the city where all those bombs passed her. So father decided to call him over. He lived in the side street. I was chosen again to go and fetch my sister, my brother-in-law, a couple of kids I remember. And they all came in our place. I was sitting at the table, waiting for our father. Wasn't much on the stove for us, but we were hoping father would bring home something to eat. After an hour waiting, he came in, he pulled out under his coat 1.5 loaf of bread. And this was given to him by a good friend. He had a loaf of bread and gave Father half, and he kept that for his family. And this was our Friday evening feast for the Sabbath. Naturally, we couldn't buy enough coal. There was no wood to be gotten. And it was really cold in the house. It was already in the late fall. So my oldest brother and I decided we'll go down to the bush. It was about 5 miles away. I picked up an old axe. We went down. We were not supposed to do this, but we took a chance. Went down to the bush, we cut down a big tree, about 20 feet long. We trimmed it out, and we carried it home. Imagine me, 14-year-old boy, in one end of the tree, my brother in the other end, and the swing in the middle. We only pushed me down. I only dropped that was so hard. Finally, we managed to get it home. With the little tools we had, we chopped the tree into pieces. It took hours and hours to do it. Finally, at least we had some food, some wood rather, to put into the oven. And this kept us all warm. And it was really a tough time. My oldest brother decided to put out to look for a job out of the city. In those days, the Germans moved forward to push the horses back. They needed some volunteer helpers, because they paid for the work. So my father followed them. Somehow he got a job for them. And after a few weeks or so, I decided to follow him. And my older sister, one of which moved earlier, both of us decided we should go to work. We went out, we didn't know exactly where Father was, but we figured we had to go east. And we walked, the first day, my sister and I, we walked 54 kilometers without a stop. And not much food, believe me. Finally, we reached our farm. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. We slept in the ground. And we were lucky because an orchard, plums and pears. And we ate a little bit there. We slept overnight, and the following day, it started to rain. And it rained for about 6 hours. We reached Barcelona. It was soaked and wet. Somehow my older sister got a hold. We had an auntie who lived there. She got a hold of my auntie. And from then on, I haven't seen my sister again until I came back a few years later. But I went on, not alone, a lot of young men. We went all to look for work. Finally, I cut off my brother. And it was no problem getting a job. It wasn't the money. I don't remember if we got paid or not. Maybe a few pennies. But we did get food to eat. Naturally, those jobs did not last long, because the army moved on. When they moved on, we lost our job. We couldn't follow. Finally, my brother and I went a different direction. I think he followed him, but I decided to go back home. After being home for about 2 weeks, at that time, Germans occupied all of Poland until Lithuania. And went as far as 12 miles west of Kiev. Kiev is the capital city of the Ukraine. And there settled down. In other words, the Russians stopped them there for the winter, anyways. And they decided they need a new railroad there. Advertised in the big cities for volunteers. Naturally, I signed up immediately, and hundreds of others the same. They shipped us out there into that area, 12 miles this side of Kiev. We were about 500 men concentrated there. We had to build a new railroad. It was in winter time. Our logic was in a big barn to put up tanks, 3, 4 on top of the other, and we slept there. Naturally, there was no heat, no electricity, no water, no toilet in that barn. The food wasn't too good. As a matter of fact, it was very little. Food consists of 4 o'clock in the morning, Each of us got a little soup, water and flour cooked, and a little salt probably. And 100 grams of bread. And this lasted until 6 o'clock in the evening. This was our daily ration. Filled our stomachs. I don't know what it was, I don't remember it. And we went through a hell of a winter there. It was 40 below zero, right through. We couldn't do much work because the soil was frozen, but 3-4 feet deep. In order to make a hole, we had to drill and put dynamite into the ground and explode it. And this is how we start digging. Many of us, 12 our boys, got killed and the chunks of earth rolled out in the explosion. I saw a young boy, not more than 50 feet away, was killed on the spot. And this went on. I was there for about 18 weeks. And during that time, as I said, our food was very little. They woke us up 4 o'clock in the morning. By the time we got dressed and got ready, it was 5 o'clock. We marched for about a half an hour, or 3/4 of an hour. At 6 o'clock we started working. Our food consists of a little soup mixed with flour and water and salt. We got 100 grams of bread. This was our daily ration. This lasted until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We actually stopped working at the pre-afternoon. By the time we got home, we got something else to eat. But some of the older boys decided to go out and find some food. So at night they sneaked out in the barbed wire around us. We were not held prisoners, but at night they kept us in. But those boys, there's only one guard watching us. They sneaked out with a couple of villages around us. They went out and begged for food. Somehow prepared some pieces of food, pieces of bread, whole cooked potatoes, maybe a few chunks of meat, maybe. And let me tell you that one of the villages was assigned out scarlet fever. Nobody was allowed to enter. And those boys did not care. Nobody died. They did go in. They told me every hour they went in, somebody was lying sick there. I had a friend there with me. He was about 10 years older than I was. With him it was a misfortune. 2 months before the war started, he came from America to visit his parents. Naturally, he was stopped and couldn't go back. I got acquainted with him in Lafayette, and we became very close friends. And in that barrack he lived in, we stayed together. He sort of protected me like I would be his son. And I liked him too. I remember one evening, he also went out to bake for some food. And by the time I waited up until 12 o'clock with hope and he thinks something will give me something to eat. Somehow we came in, lay down and fell asleep immediately. Imagine walking out for hours begging. As he fell asleep, I was so hungry. I opened the bag and I started eating. I ate and ate all night. The more I ate, the more I was hungry. And believe it or not, I finished the whole sack of piece of bread that we had. When he woke up in the morning and saw what happened, he grabbed me by the neck and started to cry. Then put his hands on me. We both cried. And that morning, I decided I'm not going back to work. I was hiding until the whole group went to work. And by 9 o'clock, I went outside, and I gave my word of honor. After being there for 4 months, the first day I saw daylight, I saw the barn, how it looks, because we all slept in the morning and came in when it was dark. When I came out, the guard asked me, how come I'm not working? I told them I didn't feel good. They said, all right, go ahead, you know the way. You know, both of you will see. On the way to the place where they built the railroad, I passed that village, and I saw that sign what my friend mentioned to me, that they were not allowed, everybody was sick there, scarlet fever. I decided I'll go in there and maybe I'll be able to get a few pieces of bread and bring home to my friend for forgiveness. I went in only to 2 houses. The first one gave me a slice of bread, and when at the second house, I collapsed for shame. I should beg bread. After a while, we all decided we're not going to go back to work until we get no food to eat. Naturally, in a group like this, there's always a leader. Within 2 days, the leader disappeared from us. They arrested him. What happened? Nobody knew. And we refused to go back to work for 3 solid days. Naturally, no food, and no work, no food. And for 3 days we did not eat another drop of water. And on top of it, they chased us out of the barn. We had to stay all day outside. It was, as I mentioned before, a terrible cold. We stayed in groups, 20, 30 in a group. We keep warm. After the 3rd day, we had to give in, because our bodies were not strong enough to hold out the hunger strike. Remember, as we gave in, they gave us a regular portion, 100 grams of bread. I ate it so fast that within 5 minutes I fainted. was stretched out. Not a soul even came to me to pick me up. But the post did pick me up. After a while, a new doctor came to the camp. We decided to go and see him. When it came to my turn, we all had to stop to the waist. The doctor just looked at me, didn't even touch me. He ordered me to the hospital. I honestly didn't know where even going. I must have looked like hell. They sent me to the hospital to a city named Willow. It was a military hospital, of course. They kept me there for 4 weeks. Naturally, clean bed, no medical. My son came back. And after 4 weeks, some were sent back to the camp. I was fortunate enough to be sent home. In that period of time, I was served in that camp. As I said, we had no heat, no heavy blankets. I remember in that period of time, 600 toes were cut off, frozen toes. But those also elderly people died of exposure. I say old. The oldest probably was 35 years old. Somehow they couldn't take it and they died. And my friend, my dear friend, I never saw him again. I was sentenced to lodge. I remember walking down the street. I saw my father coming towards me. And I looked at that man. It broke my heart. A man probably 50 years old. Today, bent over, all white, broken down. Probably for the pain that she could not provide his family. Of course, it wasn't his fault. It was a general global situation. And naturally, I walked home, coming into the house. My sister who lives in Canada now saw me. Immediately she made me sit down. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I was so skinny, had no flesh on me. Just skin over a bunch of bones. She brought out a cushion, sat down, made some tea for me. And we settled down a little bit. Following few days, our main food in the house consists of sauerkraut, but now got a hold somewhere of a few potatoes. I bought a hold somewhere. This was our daily food. We would not complain as long as it filled our stomachs. And this went on for days and days. Mom and Dad, they tried to buy some old men's pants, cut them down to children's pants, turn them over inside out, and tried to sell in the market, make a few pennies for that. I helped out as much as I could. After being home for about 6 or 8 weeks, I read in the paper that in Germany, a huge ammunition factory by the name of G.I. Farbe is looking for volunteer workers. Naturally, I signed up immediately. And within a few days, we boarded the main place. There were a few hundred of us. They shipped us out to Frankfurt am Main, Germany. Not far from Frankfurt was that huge factory. I just don't recall the name of the place. But we were lodged into a small little town, not far away from the factory. It's a nice, small little village, spotlessly clean. Used to be an old dance hall there. We put some bunks on, and we had nice lodging. We could buy our own food, and we were settled there. The following day, we reported to the factory. Each one of us was assigned to different places or in groups. I was assigned to a new area in the factory where they burned coal and they blew out poison gas out of the fumes from the coal. My job consists of to see that boiler where the coal was burned had to be filled up to capacity. We burned about 20 ton coal a day in one kettle. It was an easy job, but I enjoyed it. We had our freedom to go any place we wanted to. The food wasn't too bad. We had a shower daily, which I haven't seen for years and years and years. And the atmosphere was nice. The people were very pleasant. The German people were very pleasant. And we got along fine for quite a period of time. My memory goes back about 12 to 15 minutes. Remember, I worked somewhere in Lithuania. We worked on a highway. Our job was to see that the highway is in proper repair in order for the big German trucks and tanks had to go by there. We lived in a small village, all deserted, all run away. I don't know where, but when we came it was completely empty. It's nice little houses, farmhouses of course. We found some cellars packed full of potatoes and cabbages. And we made camp there. We had one German officer in charge of us. He was a nice gentleman, wasn't strict at all. He just told us what to do and we followed it, and there was no problems. In that camp, there were about 200 people. I would say 150 men, about 50 women. Naturally, we lived separately, not like today. And at that time, I met Ruby. She came down there with her mother and my older sister for the same reason as we went, for a piece of bread. Our job consists of the strong men. We chopped huge stones, which to me it was a pleasure. I liked it. The lesser stones, chopped the smaller stones into smaller pieces, and the women chopped the smaller stones into gravel. And then we used that gravel to fix the highway. And that time it was summertime, which was very pleasant. Ma was a beautiful looking girl. I saw her and I fell in love with her, but I was too shy to tell her that. And time went on, we were separated. They went home again, and I went my way until the end of the war when we met again. And as I went on working in that German factory, which I did my job, after a while, I was told that I'll be shipped to another job. As the foreman boy, he explained to me outside the building, there's huge piles of coal sitting there, and somehow somebody steals coals nightly. And the reason he takes me away is because I'm a good worker and I can speak German. Naturally, I had no complaint. I followed instructions. And I was put at the night shift. As I took on the job, the foreman told me, under no circumstances should I allow to take any call from the place, no matter what. Under those orders,